Okay, next on the agenda is update on the CDBG Downtown Revitalization Project Vision 2.0. Jeremy?
Yes, just a moment here. Thank you, Mayor, members of Town Council. So I just wanted to, I've got a number of slides here to run through, but I'll try to run through them quick. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Sure, you can pass it.
Oh, yes. So the handout's just a copy of the slides. So the CDBG, otherwise known as the Community Development Block Grant we have for the town. I like to start with just kind of an overview of rehash of where we've been, how we got here. Really all this started when we did the town visioning process in 2014. That was driven with a great deal of public participation, and ultimately created a document that set out some things, objectives that the community wanted us to prioritize, and one of those was the downtown. And it was specifically recommended we go after community development block grant. We try to find ways to do some of the things that we're doing here, which we later developed further. After the vision, we obtained a planning grant. There was a pre-planning grant as well as a regular planning grant. So we had to run through those processes with the state. That was 2015 and 2016. And then in 2017, we got the full funding for the planning grant, and we developed the downtown revitalization plan, which is where we came up with the name of Vision 2.0. The original town vision was just called Vision. Then on moving forward to more towards today, well, in 2017 and 2018, we developed the grant application, which was quite an undertaking. But we went through that, and we didn't get awarded initially, but then they opened up some extra funding, and we were the first to get awarded for that, and we got $700,000. And we're currently in the implementation grant phase, which, per the contract we have with the state, expires September 25th of 2020. It's important to keep in mind that although a lot of the things we're doing, we hope to benefit the entire town of Front Royal, it is primarily focused on the downtown area. One of the requirements was we had to study the downtown area and show how there is signs of deterioration of the building infrastructure. So we did all that studies, and we came up with these boundaries based on that information, and so this is the target area. Although, as I'll explain a little bit in a few minutes, some of the things do expand outside of this area. Just some information you should know if you haven't heard this already. The CDBG program is administered by the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. They get their funding through HUD and administer it. So the funds are provided to localities for a few different reasons. You can apply for affordable housing purpose, an infrastructure purpose, or an economic development purpose. We went after the economic development objective for the grant, and particularly the business district revitalization option. There is a required project management team and facade advisory board that manage the program. And again, the town was awarded $700,000. So now we get into all the different puzzle pieces of the grant. There's 7, not including administration. So these are the projects we're working with. One, the Town Plaza. We want 2, the facade improvement program. And we have the Rural Shenandoah Greenway. streetscape improvement design, parking and alley improvement design, signage, and then we have branding and marketing. So I'm just gonna run through and give you an update of all these. First, these are the numbers for each of the projects. So this is what's in the overall budget. Town Plaza, we have roughly $219,000. The Facade improvement program, partly of which comes from property owners, we have $640. The Rural Shenandoah Greenway, we have $400,000. That's already been spent. A streetscape improvement design, $28,500. Parking and alley improvements, $56,500. Signage, $162,000. And branding and marketing, $44,000. So just as we originally came to council and presented this to you some time ago, when we were applying for the grant, council was very supportive of the project. We were able to get $130,000 of new funding from council. And so it was a pretty good investment, the return on investment for $1.6+ million. And our contribution was $130,000 plus in-kind labor of staff, as well as some things we had already incorporated kind of into our budget, which we can take credit for. The biggest one of those being the Rural Shenandoah Greenway.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Forgive me, council, you guys probably know this, but is this part of the 3 phases that I keep hearing about? I know phase 1 is a $700,000 grant. Isn't there a phase 2 and a phase 3 for, I think this is the Facade grant? Is that separate?
The grant itself is just focused on these projects here. The longer term things that are in the Envision Front Royal 2.0, Envision 2.0 document for the downtown revitalization plan. And so there's other things in there which we're seeing as more long-term objectives. And given that the grant was only $700,000, we focused on a short-term plan, which is what these items are. And some of the stuff is design work that's going to lead us into the future, such as the streetscape improvement design and the parking and alley improvement.
You're referring to the 2 phases in the Facade program. We're in round 1 right now, working on contracts.
It's my understanding that there was a grant for 3 phases that we could, I thought it was specifically for the Facade portion of the community development block grant. And that there was future money that in phase 2 that we could receive and future money in phase 3, or is this all of that?
This is all that there is, other than the revitalization plan does have more long-term objectives, so theoretically, after this, we can reapply.
Gotcha.
We have to go through that reapplication process.
The first round, right?
Correct.
And we got $700,000 the second round of the application process.
Gotcha. So the total that we have access to is 1.6 million, of which we have 700,000 now that we can access. Is that accurate?
The $1.6 million is kind of a calculation of the in-kind labor, the $130,000 the town's given, stuff the town had already invested that we're taking credit for, as well as the $700,000.
Do you guys understand?
To demonstrate, there's a worksheet that breaks it out, but it was really to demonstrate that we've already started that process of investing in our downtown, and that's where we ended up getting $700,000 more to put into, really, which I think most of that went to the Facade improvement program, right? Like new money.
Yes, that's the largest.
New monies.
We just spent $400,000 on the trail,
On the trail.
so that's already gone.
But we included it in the 1.6 to show.
Yeah, we had to have meet a certain match requirement. And,
Yeah.
Of course, the $400,000 was great to take credit for because it met a lot of that requirement.
Sorry to go down the rabbit trail.
No problem.
Gene?
Going back to the Town Plaza portion of 219, that doesn't include the public bathrooms, does it? I didn't think we had enough money to do those yet this morning.
It does, and I'll show you that in just a second.
Okay.
It'll be coming up here. It's a nice thing. So the Town Plaza, $219,680. The objectives here with this project is to build a pavilion And the pavilion was to be used for farmers market or other outdoor activities at the town commons, keep people out of the sun and the rain. And there was also a demand for a public restroom. We had originally planned to put the public restroom up near the visitor center, but the state required that we make it part of the pavilion. So we have done that. The time schedule, where we're at with this right now, we are on track. 50% plans are due in October. Fraser and Associates is doing this architecture work for us. 100% plans are due in December. Construction is anticipated to start in March, and then there'll be substantial completion of construction in July of 2020. So here is an illustration of where this new buildings will go. So this is in the rear. So you've got the electrical
That's gonna be nice.
fueling station, and this is where those pine trees are for the most part. The pine trees will have to be removed, most of them. We're gonna save what we can as far as the trees. The large oak tree will be saved. And here's the design. So yes, the biggest concern here was trying to get the most for our money, but also trying to, in this tight market, trying to get something that we want. And so the architect is doing value engineering. They've already done a substantial amount of work in the schematic design, and this is what we're looking at doing, and they're informing us that they've researched this extensively, and we'll be able to afford this. The building for the bathroom is actually a prefabricated unit, so this is one way we can save some construction labor costs. There is a roof designed on top of it. It's a flat roof structure, and there'll be a roof built on top of it to mimic the pavilion structure. And then we added some stone to give it more of a beefier look and just look nicer, and
Put a fire pit.
Are the bathrooms the unisex?
it hasn't been determined, but I think it's been designed with the intent to be male and female. There was some
The crowds
discussion
we
on the
get
number
down
of-
there, if you get the urinals, and you could use it. I've been on too many bus trips where the ladies tend to outnumber the men.
That's true.
There's 2 bathrooms, right? Let's look at that.
2 bathrooms.
2 stalls.
And we've consulted with the building official of the county, and although there was some initial disagreement on the number of toilet fixtures we needed, no, we don't need a dozen. We only need 2 each restroom.
Fixtures that's gonna be needed there,
Yes,
Jeremy?
yes.
What about a mop sink? Any way to clean it up?
Well, there's a sink in there, you can see the sink.
Well, that's a lavatory sink. It looks
Then there's a
like
maintenance room.
Maintenance in the middle.
Is there a maintenance room? Right there. I don't see a sink in there. We thought we put one in there. Well, you put one in. Gotta have a way to clean it up.
I'm not gonna ask how much tap fee is.
We'll try.
I can check on the mop sink, we haven't discussed that yet, but that's good. I know the prefabricated units are very tough and sturdy when they're designed, so, one of the concerns with a public restroom like this is vandalism and damage, so that's another benefit of why we're looking at a prefabricated structure. Here's another picture, a little closer.
I'm sure it's only gonna be open in certain hours of the day, but, all right.
Management, we've discussed that a little bit, we haven't got to the point as far as the hours of operation, but we've talked about maybe having some special doors that lock automatically. But we are going to get to that stage here soon. So the facade improvement program. So this is $640,000, about half of which is coming from the property owners. The project objective here is to assist the property owners in restoring the building facades of their properties, and it's a 50-50 matching program, which they can take credit for some of the work that they've done in the past towards that match. So on this one,
How
got
far
it.
back is that?
Okay.
You say in the past, they can take credit for some of the work they've done in the past? Done in 2019?
It's back to 2015, actually. They can show receipts and documents of investments they put into the
For the
building.
original property owners, for the original people who applied as part of that.
Correct.
That's good to know.
So we had an issue with this. The construction industry is extremely busy this time, and we have not received any good bids. So we've had to rework the time schedule on this. And so now, instead of having just a round 1 and a round 2, we're doing 3 rounds. Round 1A, round 1B, and round 2. So maybe that's what the mayor had heard, I don't know. But round 1A, we have Mr. Greco moving forward on that, on his building. Construction is slated to start in October for that. He was actually in and signed the contract documents last week, and we're just waiting on some inspection results from some lead and asbestos testing we had taken place. And so we have construction slated to end the end of the year. Then we're going to reopen the bids on the others that didn't get selected for round 1, and once the inspection results come in, and construction will start in January, but we'll give them a little bit more time because it's, January's not a great time to start construction, so they're going to be running until June 2020, and that's going to overlap a little bit with round 2, so we're going to open that up for the other applicants, of which we have several already in the pending list that want to get in that round 2.
Curious, a couple quick questions. You made a comment about the asbestos. Do they have to work through the town on any improvements that they're doing, or is it a private contractor? This is what it costs, and they stay within the agreed upon amount? Or can they take initiative to do it themselves, or they have to run everything through the town?
Oh, well, there's 2 ways to do it. They can just apply for materials only, and then there's the labor rules for the federal government aren't involved. So they would send us invoices on windows or what things that they're going to purchase and install themselves, and then that can be used as part of the grant. The other way, if there is labor involved, then it would all kind of run through the town. So we would have, like Mr. Greco, we would have a closing that would come in, and there'd be a 3-party agreement between the contractor, the owner, and the town. And the owner would, if they have to pay something, they would pay the town, and then we would issue for the construction to the contractor.
So I don't quite understand that. Why does the town have to be involved in it because there's labor?
It's state requirement because of the prevailing labor wage rates.
Comes under the Davis-Bacon Act, the
Exactly.
federal government.
That's an interesting question you asked, though.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand that. And then one more, the rounds. So I understand that the cost was higher from the contractors we got back.
Yes.
I don't understand why we had to break this down into 3 rounds because of that. Am I misunderstanding that?
It was limitation, and also it was strongly encouraged to do it that way by the state, and it was also a limitation for the architect in order to do the renderings. They can only do so much at one time. So that was the original plan we set up, is to break it up into.
We didn't do
2
all those
separate
renderings during the application process?
No, we only did 2 renderings during the application process because we only had enough planning grant funds for that, which is what we originally had planned, which was normal. And so those were used more as examples to show the public, to show other property owners of the type of work that could be done, and also to supplement our grant application for the $700,000.
So if somebody was part of the original process in 2016, it's possible that they could be in the not submitting anything phase until May of 2020. If they're part of that 3rd round. Is that correct?
I'm not not sure I understand the question. We have a folder downstairs where people have already applied for round 2, which is the third round. And so we're gonna announce an opening for that later this year. And then we'll
Was there
solicit
an
for
original
other
group?
applicants.
Wasn't there an original group that applied?
And all those are in round 1. We accepted all of them.
All of those are in round
Yeah,
one.
broken up between 1A.
So you're saying the additional rounds, 1B and round 2, are for new applicants who weren't a part of that process to begin with?
Yes, we had an application deadline. Everybody that met that deadline, and we actually extended it a little bit, but everybody that met that deadline got in round 1, and they all got all
So
the
the
projects were
idea
worked.
behind that is to do the renderings, approve the projects, and then open it back up for additional business owners, if there's additional revenues, and go from there. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question. So round 1A is $640,000, or all 3 rounds are $640,000?
That's how much money we have to spend for the grant, so that is for all 3.
But that's part of the 50% match that business owners brought to the
Yes.
table in round 1.
That includes the match, so it's really only half that as far as the grant, as far as what the state pays.
Round 1B and round 2, if somebody's applying, they still have to bring 50% more to the table though, right? From whatever they're asking?
If a new applicant comes in, they have to show that they meet the 50% match. They can do that through work that they've done back to 2015, just like the first round of applicants can.
Does that increase the $640,000?
No. If they do, the owners could end up spending more, so it could be more than $640,000 if they go beyond what was projected, and that's possible. Most of the owners are trying to keep it within a tight budget because, they only have so much money. So based on what they applied for, that's where we got the
So the
640.
640 was from the original round 1 applicants. 50% match from them, 50% match from the block grant revenue sharing program, right?
We originally had a letter of intent when we were applying for their grant. So the letter of intent showed which properties are interested in applying, and so that supported our application to the state.
So it wasn't written in stone? is
It
what you're
wasn't written in
saying.
stone, it just said, hey, I'm
So the
interested.
640 was a projection of it?
Yes,
Okay.
and then that's where that projection came from. Then we opened it up for round 1 and said, okay, we're seriously taking applications now. Here's a deadline. Of the ones that made that deadline, they all got approved. And then we're gonna reopen that for the second round
Until you exhaust the funds?
until we exhaust the fund.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but how many applicants did you get for round 1 that are scheduled for construction?
There were 15 that applied.
15.
Yes.
All 15 got it.
All 15 got approved.
And the grant portion was how much for round 1, for those 15? 340,000?
We do not know exactly the grant amount until we get the bids in from the contractors, because we don't know what the final construction cost will be. The projected amount would have been a little over half of the, 320,000, because we had a little bit more in the first round than what we were gonna do in the second round.
So to take a different spin on Jake's question, if I own a building and I plan to do facade improvements, and I choose to go ahead and spend $50,000 to do the facade improvements, can I apply in round 1B or round 2 and possibly at my own risk, but possibly get reimbursed $25,000?
You can get credit for your match on what you've already done, but the grant money has to be done on something new.
I was trying to bypass the construction bidding and all that.
So some people have already done work, but they're planning on doing more work, and they're gonna use the grant funds for that.
Yeah, okay.
You're gonna cover the next phase of the contracts, the issue we had to go back and renegotiate. Are we going to just open up bids again?
Well, we informed we can't renegotiate, because it was so far off, and so, One of the property owners accepted, and we're moving forward with that one. That is round 1A. The other ones will be re-advertised for 1B. And so we've got a schedule for that, as I showed you, and we're out there actively promoting, seeking contractors. There's been flyers passed around, top pictures, a video that we did with Beth Waller, and Mr. Greco's there, who was the first gentleman that was approved. I want to just clarify a few things. There's been no extension to the grant that's been requested or required by the state. The Department of Housing and Community Development has been fully briefed at this point in time. Management team was adamant, we had to jump on that as soon as we could, and we did that. Doug Ellis was actually at our last meeting by phone, and was on Doug Ellis's representative with the state. So he was very supportive of our new schedule, and also very aware of the current market conditions, which other localities are also experiencing right now. Staff is actively, again, speaking with contractors, raising awareness of this. Contractors that are interested are welcome to contact me, and I'll give them all the information. Staff has advertised on social media, news outlets, flyers, Building Association has sent out mass email, and the Chamber of Commerce is helping us on this as well. So we already have a number of new contractors as well as some of the old ones which are interested in. One of the risk factors the contractors had, other than just being busy, was the lead and asbestos testing was unknown for them, so that scared some of them away. So we're using a little bit of the grant funds to go ahead and get that testing done. And we actually had that done last week, and we're waiting on the results. Hopefully we'll get those by the end of the week.
Jake, you have a question?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to beat this dead horse, but this is one of these areas where, we engage a lot and interface a lot with the public and the business owners on Main Street. So a business owner could use their own contractor to do their own work, to do everything we're talking about today, but they won't be eligible for 50% of the match because they didn't run it through the town. Is that correct?
If someone hasn't applied and they had a contractor and they went ahead and did work, that's fine. They can show us
Somebody
receipts.
who's applied and has got approved and then wants to just use their own contractor to get a better bid, to, not worry about the lead and asbestos test, that somebody who's willing to go in and do the work.
If there's labor, then it has to run through the town by the grant requirements. They can use their own contractor, but they have to meet the state requirements. They have to be licensed, at least a Class B contractor's license. They have to have some certification if they're doing certain types of work for OSHA. So they can't be just an unqualified worker. It has to be somebody that's qualified.
I see where you're going with this.
So they can, if they did work back in 2015 and they were approved and get reimbursed, and as long as they show receipts.
Then they can meet their match with that work
Only
they've already done.
materials, not
But the
the-
grant funds have to be used on something that,
No, that would qualify for their 50% portion. But if they're seeking new money,
Right.
so they still have to get the new work done. But on your point, Jake, you're saying that if I own the building, I don't have to go through the town and the town's process as it relates to the contractors and the bidding and whatnot. I can go straight to a contractor, as long as he meets certain criteria, I can use a contractor of my choice to get the work done?
correct. If
Did you know that, Joe?
If it's material only, if it's something that can be broken out, then we can not even have to deal with the contractor. If say they wanted to install an awning, required permits and construction, then they'd have to have their contractor come through and sign a contract with the town and get qualified with the town.
All right, let's simplify this. Let's simplify this example.
The only reason I'm asking the question, I know I'm belaboring the point, all the bids came in high. And so I'm just trying to figure out if there's ways to make it more economical for the business owners.
So I'm saying I have a contractor that I do work with all the time, who didn't want to go through the procurement process, but I know that there's a bid in there for $75,000 or $100,000, 50,000 of it I spend, 50,000 of it is the grant money. Can I hire my contractor for $100,000 and say, hey man, do this work as long as you meet these criteria?
It depends on what it is.
And you're not gonna reimburse the labor, you're only gonna reimburse the materials, is that correct?
Well, labor we reimburse at the preset government state rate.
If it's construction that the contractor's doing, then it has to run through us.
So it
For
has
the
to be
grant.
a contractor that you have approved and is in your pool.
It has to be that, and then if there's construction involved, where there's labor for the,
Labor.
for what they're
It's gotta
applying
be
for,
labor. I mean,
then it has
it's
to come through
Not
us.
material, you go to Lowe's, get material, you're gonna have to have the labor. So what you're saying is, if Matt has somebody that he wants to use, that's a contractor, that contractor will have to come to you, fill out all the paperwork, blah, blah, whatever needs to be done, and he will be in that pool, and then he can use it.
It's not hard, yeah.
So that's, yeah, it's not hard, so then, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's what has to be done?
Yes.
Okay,
All
but
of
that
it.
wasn't that hard.
Using your architect.
But they all gotta be under the Davis-Bacon Act. the
Right, but
federal-
they have to-
Because this is the HUD money coming from the feds.
Right.
We did it in '85 when we built the original down there.
So,
Yeah, the-
but you can
they have
use
different
whatever
rates.
contractor you want, as long as he goes in, meets the criteria, and gets in that pool, and so be it. So you can go out and get your own contractor using, as long as he meets all the
But
criteria.
you can't just go out and get your own contractor, pay the contractor in every circumstance.
Right.
The town has to pay them.
Right, okay.
Okay, can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Sorry,
It's
we've beaten it.
a lot of fine details.
Yeah.
So next we have the Royal Shenandoah Greenway. That's already been constructed for some time now. You should be familiar with that. Here's a picture of it. Planning and zoning did that project as far as the design work, and Public Works organized the construction of that.
That's really nice.
Super nice, yeah.
I'd like to see it's extended right past Skyline entrance there on Chrysler.
That was cool too, because it was the last leg of the Royal Shenandoah Greenway, so we'll have to look at other trail options now. The Streetscape improvement design project with $28,500. This is a relatively smaller end as far as the amount, but this is for designing sidewalk, street light, those type of improvement changes to the streetscape in the downtown revitalization area. And we're grouping this with the parking and alley improvement design, and we have an RFP that's running this week, and we're anticipating up to a 6-month process with the consultant. There'll be some public outreach going on, and requesting input from the public and the property owners down there. A lot of what we want to do, such as with the parking improvements, may require involvement with the property owners. And so part of that is to come up with a strategy on how to potentially acquire the property. One of the issues that we have in the downtown is disunified private parking. And so we're trying to fix that. The goal is to emulate more what's on Peyton Street, on Jackson Street. Also to look at potentially closing off some of the less used, more narrow alleys and turning those into pedestrian ways, similar to Peyton Street. So this is an exciting undertaking, although this is just the design work. There's no funding in it for construction.
I have one comment as it relates to the alleyways. The alleyway on Peyton Street, I forget the name of it. The Kid Lane, is that the one where the brick was laid down?
Yes, it's one of them.
Are we gonna do brick again in these alleyways?
That's part of the process?
So there needs to be a bond, or there needs to be something for the contractor, because about a year after the brick was put down, they started popping and cracking and busting. I mean, you can walk down it now and you'll see, it just doesn't look good. It's nice in theory, but, I don't know.
So we're not actually constructing anything here again, this is just design work, but that's good, definitely good to know as we move forward into the future, possibly getting a grant down the road after this.
Oh, that's right, that's just for design work. Well, in the design, you need to design which.
So it doesn't
put
do that.
down.
And signage, so this is, they're all exciting, this one. We've got some illustrations now, and I'll show you those. The project objective here is to do some wayfinding signage. We have $162,000 for that. So we're gonna get everything we can out of that money. We're also working with the county in coordinating the process, and they also have some funding. So we were gonna create a wayfinding signage plan and also do some construction of some signage. And we do have a design to show you. You may have already seen that in previous notices. Time schedule on this is plan completion December of this year. Signage fabrication will be completed June of 2020, and then we'll install.
6 months? It takes 6 months to fabricate these signs?
Well, there's on all these schedules. This is a summary. There's 100 different more steps involved in the overall timeline, but
I got you.
these are the key points. And so we're right on track with this. And this is what the committee that was formed to, which for the most part consisted of town and county representatives. We had a unanimous decision that this was the preferred sign. It's kind of a 3D rendering of mountains, and we had a revision from the first round, so they were a little different between the county and the towns before. These are the same other than the words. So we're excited to present this to you, and hopefully, unless you have any input or concerns about it, we'd love to move forward with this. Here's some more renderings of what it might look like. Of the options we looked at, this one was, I think it's still conservative, but this was more of the eye-catching, I think, design versus the other two. Had a little bit more pop to it.
Yeah.
And so, Fraser's going to, moving forward and finalizing the design, we'll have more details on everything as that process moves forward. Again, should be done by the end of the year.
Will there be lighting associated with it?
That will have to be determined.
Some solar lights down there. Good.
We have talked about lighting.
Existing signs have lights, so I assume it's a lot of lights.
Okay, is that it? Brandon.
Marketing and branding. And Felicia wanted me to pass these around. So as I start this, you can pass that around, that'd be great. So she's primarily handling this activity. The project objective is just use some of the funds, $44,400, towards a variety of different tasks to promote tourism. And so one of the things is a new tourism website that was developed with grant funds, and that has now Google Analytics, which I know Felicia has discussed with you in some of her reports already. There's been a number of advertisements that have gone out in different magazines. There's 80,000 copies of a new design visitor center guide. There's these little things I'm passing out, which are passed around in hotels and other visitor centers in the region. Just giving somebody a quick phone number and,
Is this
website address to
Joe's
go
phone
find
number?
out information.
Joe's phone number?
It's his mobile number.
Direct mobile?
That is his direct mobile.
Any questions? I'll do it.
Joe would kill me.
It'd be funny though.
So we've installed some lighted sign boxes on Good Lane, and we can put in some, actually we haven't done the last two yet, but they're gonna be done here soon. We're gonna install another kiosk out at the visitor center, and then there's some slat wall, some slats putting in the wall where the brochures are gonna go, which I think it's much better than the current rack system. So all of this should be done by the end of the year, and we're on schedule and on track with that.
Okay,
That's all.
any questions for Jeremy that we haven't already grilled him? Good job, Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good read.